Good. Hey, Michelle, how are you? Good. Yep. We've gotten better. And that's what this whole Thanksgiving tournament MTs are all about. Playing different styles, playing a higher level of competition, and kind of learning and growing from the experiences. And I thought we got better from Florida to BYU, and then from BYU to Georgetown, we took a step too. So we just got to continue to take steps. What steps can you shed some more insight? What exactly do you think that you guys did better between those games? Just the consistency and the discipline that's needed to win those type of games. And you can talk about it, you can preach it, you can practice it, but until you get in those moments with a new team, new group, new teammates, you can't really grow and learn from it till you go through it. And we've gone through it. And I think just the experience from Florida, showing the film of how we kind of took ourselves out the game, and then growing from that, going to BYU and playing a good half, and then having to respond when another team makes a run, and you gotta bite down and punch back, and then going out against Georgetown and carrying over the exact game plan of what we talked about doing, and so just those steps from being in those games, and also the level of confidence you gain. I think from being in those games where like I said earlier, the Florida game was closer than the score. The BYU game, we had the lead at half. And then the Georgetown game, we just played good and kind of ran away with it. So just gaining confidence through that is a big part of it too. What are you expecting from Ole Miss? What type of matchup is that going to be? I mean, I've coached against Chris Beard almost half of my coaching life. He's one of the best coaches in the business, especially when it comes to just game planning and defense alone. So they're going to be tough. They're going to be physical. They're going to rebound. They're really going to guard. And this is another experience where we've played two neutral games that were really road games with Florida and BYU. And so now I'm playing an actual road game. We have a little bit experience going against. It's not the same, but just a little bit. So hopefully these past couple of games that we played help us in this environment. But I'm excited to see our guys in that environment too. But they're really good. They have new players, a bunch of new. I think they have maybe one returning, if I'm correct. So they're still trying to figure out their team. That's kind of what everybody's doing at this moment. So we'll see how it goes. You said the other day, we were talking about the bench minutes. Can you expand more on that? Getting the man, just kind of how you envision it? What you kind of thought about? Yeah, one thing I saw in the BYU game, just being there, then also watching back on film, I feel like our guys ran out of gas, and it's really those top six, and they've been playing heavy minutes. And we got to get the other guys in the game a little bit more, and that's what we did in Georgetown. And I think that helped us a lot, just keeping people fresher for later in the game, which was a big part. And then those guys also gaining confidence by having success. I thought Nome coming in and knocking down two threes was huge. Solly has just grown every game. His impact may not be in the stat sheet, but what his execution of his role and what we ask him to do and him doing his job is huge. And so that part, Timo still adjusting, getting comfortable to a new game. But also part of it as a coach is I have to put those guys out there at times so they can grow on the court as well. Yep. Well, we have in the first initial games in those big games, those starters have been playing like 35, 37 minutes. Malik, Shelton, Trey, True, those guys are playing heavy, heavy minutes. And it's a long year. It's gonna be hard to do that for 30 something games. So those guys to come in and help and try not to drop off the level of the game and stick up to the competition. And the way I base everything is off the defensive end. Offensively, I give them freedom with some guardrails, but defensively, if I don't feel like they're competing or rebounding or playing, that's where the minutes will become a little bit less and a little bit limited. So really, it's just I guess on the defensive end to keep us up to the competitive standard, and then offensively just execute the game plan. Yep. It's all like it's just our whole team. And I feel like that's our next step we have to make. Now I've said this and I will keep saying it. You know, we're not Alabama. We're not going to go out there and shoot 30 plus threes. We're not built that way. Our team is built on physicality, size, and playing in the paint. But we are a good shooting team. And part of being a good shooting team for us, and why I'm saying this is we have to get high quality threes. The threes Malik got were off one more passes, also extra swing, except for the one at halftime. You know, him in the corner standing still off rotation, that's a good three. We got to get Shelton to shoot some of them. He's reluctant to shoot them right now, so we got to encourage him to shoot some. Dante has to shoot more. The more that Nome and Timo play, they're able to space the floor and be able to do that. Marcus has shot the ball pretty good this year. Trey has shot the ball true. So we just have to shoot more, but it's just not shooting them to shoot because you can shoot them and still the defense may not, come out the paint if you're not shooting the right ones. So as long as we shoot the right ones, I think we're capable of being between I would say a 8 to 10 made three per game, which is pretty good.
No, can you talk about Gnome a little more? I think
Yeah.
I saw in one of the videos that you gave him. I don't know if it was a game ball or something.
Yep.
Shout out.
Yeah.
What is it that made you go out and get him, and what does he bring the team? You think?
Yeah, we have this kind of thing we do off the Jason mask. That's kind of like our game ball. And for Gnome, he's been hurt. He had this shoulder stuff that was going on earlier in the year. He's still not fully 100%. And so he's been in and out of practice and stuff, but just he shows up every day. He's consistent. And, my message to him and this message for everybody, you show up every day, do the work with a great attitude, it's going to show up. And to throw him out there and for him to hit 2 threes was huge for us because it does just add another threat for us. And then it just gives him that confidence. But I thought the main point for him was just his approach the whole time where he didn't play in the BYU game. And then the next day he comes in and he hits 2 threes. It's just being in the right mode, right mind frame. It's huge.
How did it become a Jason Max?
Yeah.
I need the background on that.
It was just kind of going into, I think this preseason and going into the first game is like we're, you know, aesthetically, I guess is the right word. We're not the prettiest team. You're not going to watch us and would be some flashy offense. And, we're this big physical monster. And we don't know exactly what we are or who we are, but we know what we're about. And if we're going to be about it, we might as well take it all in and be it and be Jason. You know what I mean? So, it's a part in one of the movies where it's like the first time he finds the mask and he puts on the mask and he kind of sees himself as, okay, this is what I am. And he accepts it. And that's what we were trying to do. We got to accept who we are. We're big. We're going to rebound. We're going to crash. We're going to attack the paint. We're going to guard you. That's us.
Is there an actual mask that you give out?
Yeah, it is. It's an actual mask that we give out. So our strength coach, Zach, ordered it off Amazon. It was not a thing. We didn't think about it, but he thought about it and he brought it in before the first game. And so it's kind of stuck. So now that's who we are.
Jay, I'm curious. Before the season started, you talked about Jacksonville, and you had said that you had watched them play a lot.
Yeah.
I'm wondering in season what that's like for you personally, film study, learning the opponent.
Yep.
How you kind of process it, and with the understanding games come pretty quickly.
Yeah, I try to stay. A big part of what I try to do is stay in the moment. So I won't watch another opponent until that game is done and we're done. So it ends up being long nights, but I don't want to look ahead. I don't want to forget anything that I'm prepared for in the moment. So, with Ole Miss, we had a couple of days to watch them, watched every game they played, and started watching back. And so the first time you watch them is try to get a feel for them, see who they are, what they're about, offensively and defensively. Then the second and third time you started watching them is you're trying to, gather your game plan and how you can attack them and how you can stop them. And so you figure that out and you go from there. But the biggest part is you don't want to give the guys too much. So you just try to conceptually give it off of stuff you already have in. So if stuff we have, we just try to tweak it. So depending on how they guard ball screens, we'll do this instead of that. Depending on how they guard off the ball, we do this instead of that. Are they going to double the post? Are they going to play straight up in the post? So it's just, I found the best way of doing it in college instead of creating paralysis by analysis is just having your base stuff in offensively and defensively and then just tweaking it game to game. So you're not trying to put in 5 new plays, 10 new plays every game. You have 18 and 22-year-old kids who still forget to bring their ID. You think you're going to get them to remember 5 new plays before we go play Ole Miss after a day off and 2 days of practice? No. So, it's just finding out what you're really good at and trying to do that as many different ways as possible.
If you enjoyed, not just as a head coach, but if you enjoyed that process of being a coach and trying to find all the things.
Yeah, it is, and it's the biggest part of becoming a coach. Also, is watching other coaches, and so you watch Chris Beard, and you're getting to watch him coach against Ben McCullum from Iowa, and so you're seeing stuff, and you're seeing how Iowa's attacking, and you're seeing how they're trying to take away. So it helps you grow as a coach as well. I'm big on learning, always learning. Like I don't have all the answers. I understand that, and I've always understood that. I think that's one of my superpowers. If I'm okay with knowing that there's still more out there and there's still stuff you can grow from. And I may have always seen something and done something a certain way, and then you see somebody else doing it, and you're like, oh, that's pretty good. Let me put that in my back pocket. So that's coaching, and it's always been coaching. Everybody runs the same stuff and does it. They just have different names for it, but it's all somehow in the same wheelhouse. So the same thing for me. You watch all this stuff and you watch these people and you're learning, but also dissecting.
How much are you enjoying being a head coach so far?
I enjoy it. I enjoy it. It's different. It is different. I think year one is especially different because it's so much new. So, the one thing that I was always prepared for the basketball. That wasn't an issue for me. I think the one thing that has been more difficult is just coaching of everybody because you come to a new place, you don't bring any staff. I didn't have a staff. I was assistant coach, so I'm coaching the coaches on what I want. I'm coaching the players on how to do things, coaching the administration on how I want things done. So it's a whole new gambit of stuff that you just are trying to get aligned and get right. And I figured that would be the case in year one. The one thing I didn't prepare for was the coaching of the staff too. So now the way you coach the players, you got to coach the staff also.
Official wraps up.
The different levels of coaching that you bring in on, just those challenges that you set for players like the lead true and all of those, like the leadership, better defense, all American level. How do you see that growing in these
Just by confidence. Confidence has been a big part of it. All these guys are in elevated roles, as I told them, and with their elevated roles is a different level of responsibility that they have to account for. You know, um, Malik's in a premier role now. He's our go-to person where he may have been the second or third option at Indiana. You know what I mean? Trey's in a premier role for us. We're at Michigan. He played with Danny Wolf and played with all these other guys who are a little bit ahead of him. Same thing with Drew. He's in a high level role for us. So adjusting to their roles and also learning and growing from that. You know what I mean? We get in the game and we go over press break. We've done all this stuff and we get in the game and Drew gets trapped. And I'm like, Drew, why aren't you dribbling through the press like we talked about? And he just reverts back to, Coach, I forgot, in New Mexico, we were taught not to dribble in the press. So, you just deal with stuff like that. You're trying to rewire wiring that's been set for years at other places. And I think that's the one thing about the portal in this day and age is like, it's the rewiring and then you're trying to wire it your way. So it takes time. It takes time. It's the biggest thing. So just being consistent and being disciplined is what we're preaching this year and what we'll preach forever in the program.
Pressure wraps up. Yeah, Jay, another thing, analytics, there's all kinds of stuff, and I'm using broad brush.
Yep.
How do you and your staff just best apply it and maybe how it helps you? If you could just comment on, again, the broad.
Yeah, no, analytics is huge in basketball and scouting and everything. You know what I mean? And, from an analytical standpoint, most of your best analytic teams shoot a lot of threes. So for us, we don't shoot a lot of threes. So how do we close that gap? You know, the way we found we close that gap is one from the free throw line. We get fouled a lot. Now we got to convert them. Second chance points, and being able to kind of close the gap and the decimals that you get when you shoot more threes. We're always but the biggest thing that we preach on both ends and the biggest analytical thing is the paint. Teams with high points in the paint usually are your best offensive teams. Teams will shoot a lot of three and you get more points for shooting a three than you do in the paint. But if you're getting 35, 40 points in the paint and you're only making 6 to 8 threes, it makes up eventually. You know what I mean? So our thing has always been points in the paint, and we also count drive. You touch the paint, kick out three. That's an extra. It's almost like a 4-point play. And then so defensively, we know that. So that's what you try to take away. So we try to eliminate the paint. So we know your lowest quality three, although these teams shoot a lot of threes, come from when they don't touch the paint. So if the ball's just popped around the perimeter and they shoot a three, that's like 0.86 chance of going in, where if it touches the paint, it's more of like 1.1, 1.2. So just knowing that and eliminating that is part of it too. So it's just all decimals. It's math stuff that, I came from an old school basketball background that I was kind of didn't grow up knowing, but it's a part of the game. So I have to adapt and know what it is and where it's headed. So, me and my staff, we got to stay on top of it.
Thanks, Coach.
Yep. Thank you all.
Good luck. Have a good trip.
Thank you. Appreciate it.